Only $2,000 for a camera that shoots RED RAW seems to be too good to be true. So in this video I'm gonna test if the Nikon ZR really holds up to a Komodo or a RED Dragon X to see if there's really red color signs in it and how it in general holds up, including dynamic range, colors and so many more. Coming up. Hi guys, my name is Paul, I'm a German-based cinematographer and this channel is all about filmmaking, gear reviews, but also DaVinci Resolve tutorials. So if that's something that you're interested in, consider subscribe, and I invite you to come to the Creator Summit at the 17th of January 2026. So this is a big creator event and we have loads of speakers there and we have brands there like Nikon, Canon, Sony, Blackmagic and so on and so forth, and you can win a lot of gear. So it will be in Germany in the southern part, so in Bayreuth, close to Munich. So yeah, just check the link up below. First of all, I already did a first impression video about the Nikon ZR, and there I was shooting like a little project with the Nikon ZR, but I had no real comparison. But when I brought the footage into my computer, it definitely felt like RED to me. So I needed to see if that is really true, testing it against my Komodo and also against my RED Dragon X. So, and since we are already talking about colors, let's dive deep into the comparison here. So we can generally see in this shot here inside under controlled lighting that all of these three cameras look exactly the same from the colors, from the skin tones. There's barely any difference, right? But I also did a few test shots outside, and of course we used the exact same lens and swapped it each time and had a true IR&D filter so that there was no color shift, nothing at all. So the exact same settings for all the cameras to see if there's really a difference. And throughout these shots we can see a difference. They all look kind of a little bit different, but at the same time they also look very similar. So that tells me that they're in the same ballpark and that the colors that we are seeing is like true RED footage. And if I import the footage into Resolve now, which I can edit now, the RED RAW is exactly the same. All the adjustments that you have is exactly the same as on the other cameras. So I feel like the Dragon leans a little bit more towards green at the very end, and the Komodo is a little bit warmer, and also but from the skin tones and from the greens and everything like that, the colors on the Nikon ZR are exactly the same. So it is definitely true RED color signs, which is absolutely amazing. You can also record in H.265, ProRes RAW and Nikon RAW on that camera here. And I was curious to see if the color is really the same, because only if you shoot RED RAW you get the red color space, the red white gamut and red log 3D10. On the other codecs it's Nikon log N-log. So, and we can definitely see a difference. The skin tones are more towards like red or even magenta ones. So I didn't like the colors too much. Wait. Before we move on, I want to bring to your attention how important music really is. And for the past 5 to 6 years, I'm constantly using MusicBed. I know there are many other platforms that do really the same, but what I feel like is mostly important, especially for me, for music, is the quality. When I'm working on client projects, I want to have the right feeling, the right mood that the video is conveying, and I want to have it that it is an exact fit to the story I'm trying to tell. And for that reason I love MusicBed, because for me it's so easy to find just the right music, and I feel like the music has a certain depth to it, which makes it feel like more premium compared to the others. And now also they have sound effects. So when you want to have sound effects, for example, you search for a riser, you get thousands of different variations of that. So that's pretty cool that you're not only limited to the songs only, but also now to sound effects. So if you want to check that out, how great Music Bed is, I will link it for you down below. Just check it out. I can highly recommend it. Nikon claims 15 stops of dynamic range on this little camera here, and therefore I also did my over and under exposure test to see how that camera holds up in terms of latitude, and we can directly see if we overexpose this camera, it does a really decent job in overexposing. So I have no loss or no clipping until 4 stops over. When I'm at 4.5 stops over, we see a little bit of clipping on my skin, but not too hard, but still it's clipped. And then 5 stops, we see a lot of clipping ongoing there. So 4 stops is a really solid result in overexposure. So then I started to go into underexposure, and first of all we can say that there's no color shift if you go from 1 to 5 stops under, so the color hold very well in that camera here. And I was able to get it to 3.5 stops under. 4 stops is definitely unusable. 3.5 stops is still usable. You can use some noise reduction and get rid of most of that, and then it's usable. But 4 stops and even beyond that, it's totally unusable. So that brings that camera to 7.58-ish stops of latitude, which is pretty on par with what the Komodo is, and a stop less in latitude what the Dragon does. So, but looking at the footage, the highlight roll-off and everything looks really, really nice on this camera. So I also did my highlight roll-off test here in the studio, and I couldn't make out any difference between the Dragon and the ZR. So interestingly, when you pull it into Resolve, the highlight roll-off per default is set to soft, but you can change it in the RAW settings to very soft, but you can't change it in the camera menu. So in the end, we can really say that there's true RED color science in it. I'm pretty amazed of what you can shoot in this little camera. And on top of that, you have a dual native ISO. So this camera is also pretty neat in low light performance with a dual native ISO on 6400. You have a stabilized sensor, autofocus, and you also can shoot photos with it and everything. So this camera is jam-packed of features for that price point, which I really like. But in the end, there are only 2 reasons I think why you want to get this camera. First off, you want to be having that RED experiences, and you want to shoot on RED without spending that much money that the other cameras cost, and this camera is a perfect entry. Or secondly, you're already a RED owner and you want to have that camera in your package as a B cam or as a C cam, and it does a pretty amazing job in terms of that. But there's more to RED than what this camera offers here. What I mean by that is the RED experiences is that the image and the colors look amazing, but it's also very intuitive to use that camera, and I don't have that same experience or feeling when I'm using that camera. What I mean by that is on RED you have so many great exposure tools with the goalposts and everything like that. You just look at the image and you definitely know if there's something overexposed or underexposed and something like that. Here on this camera, unfortunately, we have only a waveform which is pretty small, so it's kind of hard to tell where it's overexposed, if it's overexposed there. So there's no goalposts or the features from RED to judge exposure. There's no false color and any other of that. So this would be a really welcome feature. And also additionally, I have to say that I really like the screen. It's the best screen that I have ever seen on a camera, on a mirrorless camera, so to say. But I would really wish that Nikon could incorporate like at least false color here on this camera, so that would make things really, really easy. And also we have the micro HDMI port, which I already said in my first impression video, which is kind of a bummer, but you can't, when you shoot anamorphic, you have no anamorphic desqueeze options on the menu either, so then you have to use an external monitor, which I did on my very first impression with this camera. So overall, I really like the Nikon ZR. It's, I think, a perfect little camera, and I'm pretty excited of what this camera can do, and I think it's a really good investment if you're already a RED shooter or if you want to go into that RED kind of ecosystem on that camera here. So I see definitely the point which was Nikon making here on this camera, and that's all I have to say. In my next video I will compare that one to my Lumix S1 Mark II, which has the same sensor, so we can definitely check out which camera does better in what regard, and happy to see you in my next one. If you have any questions, you know the game, just drop them in the comments below, and I'm gonna see you in my next one. Cheers!